Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Flop Podcast, episode 12. This is Daniel.
And this is Preston. We'll be right back after a quick musical interlude.
Alright, thanks for sitting through yet another Daniel Spiller concert. We are back. It is 2019. What is up, Preston?
Man, it's been like a year, man.
I know. It's been so
long.
Is
that joke like still good?
That joke has not been good for 2018 years.
Wow. All right. Well, I tried. All right. Dealing with a little bit of a snowstorm here today, so I've been cramped up inside all day, so I am continuing my staring at my computer or any other kind of screen in this house for another hour with you, Danny.
Yeah, and obviously you guys can't see us, but Preston right now has Beats headphones on, and he has his hoodie up over the headphones, so he's in full podcast attire.
Oh yeah, and I got a craft beer next to me, so we're all good to go.
Alrighty, let's get started with the big three. First of all, we have a segment. Normally this comes at the end of the show, but it was too good to wait.
This is the reason we came back. It's just for this.
We almost canceled the show, but here we are because Tim Tebow is engaged. What?
Dang it.
He's engaged. I know, I'm disappointed too.
To someone with four names, by the way.
Yeah, we're not even going to say her name because it's four. There's four of them. That's too many. But do you want to know how he described the ring that he got her?
I have not heard this, so yeah, absolutely.
He described it as internally flawless, just like his fiance.
Yep, that's a Tim Tebow quote right there for you.
Yep. I don't think there's anything else other than that.
I mean, this is probably the biggest Tim Tebow update that we can give you guys. It was a gorgeous 7.25 carat ring. Remains unknown this time, the designer.
We'll find out.
So, yeah, I hope we find out. Yeah. But that momentous piece is undoubtedly worth a pretty penny. That's what the article says. Can't make this stuff up.
It does say.
All right.
Yep,
it says those words, Danny. Trust me. All right. Well, let's get to some news in the actual sports world. Antonio Brown. Ever since the Steelers season ended, massive speculation been going on about Antonio Brown, and is he going to get traded? Is he going to come back? And the Steelers owner actually kind of put a interesting saying he would be surprised if Brown was back next year. And but just Danny, what do you think the Steelers should do here? Obviously, Brown has had some kind of behavior issues, you could call it, down the stretch this season, and now the Steelers are not in the playoffs. So what do you do with your star receiver?
Yeah, well, this is crazy. First, Le'Veon Bell going, through everything he chronicled the whole season. Now Antonio Brown. This is their star running back, their stud wide receiver. What went wrong here? Is their coach that bad? Like, normally this is an organization without any drama.
That you're right. And the crazy thing is Mike Tomlin has always been kind of seen as a player's coach. And now you've got two players. And I don't want to put this mainly on Tomlin because, the Le'Veon Bell situation was more financial. The Antonio Brown situation is more immature.
Yep.
I guess you could say churlish. But, I think they should trade him. I think the 49ers are a good destination for Antonio Brown because here's the thing with the Steelers. Yeah, you're losing Le'Veon Bell. You might lose Antonio Brown. Guess who's right behind those guys? James Conner, who had a great Pro Bowl-worthy season, and Juju Smith-Schuster, another Pro Bowler.
He had a great close to the season.
Oh, yeah. And now he's going to the Pro Bowl because his teammate is sitting out of the Pro Bowl. So how do you like that?
That works out nicely. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I mean, if they don't want to be there, trade them, get what you can for them, and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and the big story since the season ended, not the playoffs. Playoffs? Talking about playoffs? We don't care about no stinking playoffs. NFL head coaching hires.
Yep.
So we're too late to predict which coaches get fired because they got fired. I think a lot of them were pretty obvious. No big surprises.
Yep.
But evidently, it pays if you know Sean McVay, because a lot of people are making a big deal about, guys like Cliff Kingsbury and Matt LaFleur, some of these guys getting hired off the success of a guy like Sean McVay.
I know. McVay is, 32, and he has a coaching tree already. This is insane.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, you walk around LA. Have you met Sean McVay? Are you in the running for future head coaching position?
I haven't met him, but I meet people that have worked for him all the time. They're everywhere. But...
So, connect. It's like, you're 2 tiers away from Sean McVay. So basically, you should be an offensive coordinator this year on the hot train to getting a head coaching job.
I've gotten some LinkedIn recruiter messages. But
no doubt.
But yeah, I mean, I do listen to LA Talk Radio, and it is pretty wild how, I mean, they are huge McVay fanboys here, and that's really, I mean, obviously it's permeated across the league. Everyone wants the next.
Yeah, it's
Sean
not
McVay.
Just in LA. Yeah. I mean, at the time, this was kind of seen as an out there kind of move. And this is kind of my thing in the NFL, is like everyone's making a big deal about how all these people are getting hired because of Sean McVay. Well, wasn't that the same thing with like Bill Belichick when he got really successful? Like, oh, let's hire people that know Bill Belichick and maybe we can get Bill Belichick. Like, here's the thing. You can't just like go out and hire a coach just because he knows another coach.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about this with Jim Boylan before, like, who says he coached under Greg Popovich, so he knows how to do it, and basically almost ruined his Bulls tenure within a week.
Yeah.
Evidently, the Bulls just signed him to a new contract, so that's a whole nother thing with that franchise. But sticking with head coaching hires, best and worst so far.
Is that a question?
Yeah, that's a question.
That's a great question. I haven't followed the hires that closely. You tell me.
I would say the best one in my mind is there's a couple I've liked. I have not hated the moves just as much as some other people have, but I'm not huge on Vic Fangio to the Broncos, and just because he's a defensive-minded coach, and he's been there around a long time. There's got to be some kind of reason that he hasn't gotten this, call up to the next level to be a head coach until this year. Plus, the Broncos organization, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the Instagram update. It might be going sour right now. Another one I really didn't like was Brian Flores. Sorry, Danny.
Well, I can't believe. I mean, he's not even technically the defensive coordinator yet.
That's my whole thing. Is I just don't. I'm like, guys, like they just hired Matt Patricia away, who was like the only defensive coordinator the Patriots have had for a while, and like the verdict's still out on him to see what he does with the Lions. But Flores is. I don't get it. It's basically like, oh, let's it's like it's the AFC East. They just don't get it. It's like, oh, let's hire Bill Belichick's guy, and then we'll finally be able to beat Belichick. And then Belichick just comes in and beats them all again.
Yep. Also, Arians was an interesting hire to me, like someone who coached in the NFL at a hot start and then flamed out really fast. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised he's even getting another chance, to be honest. But
that one, I am a little bit more optimistic for, mainly because he hired Todd Bowles as defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
We know he didn't do great as the Jets head coach, but he's a great defensive mind. He was with Bruce Arians when they had those good Arizona Cardinal teams out there. And then Arians, I think he could do some good work with Jameis Winston and actually make him a productive quarterback again, maybe limit some of those interceptions. We'll see. Another one I liked is Freddie Kitchens for the Browns. This is the guy that ran the offense after Hugh Jackson, the great Hugh Jackson, got fired last year. And they turned Baker Mayfield into a stud in the NFL and probably looking like the best quarterback in that draft class again.
Yep. And lastly for me, let's just give the Bengals a shout out for just moving on at all. That was a big step for them.
I mean, gosh, they were super close to hiring Hugh Jackson. So we'll give them a tiny shout out. All right, let's get to the NFL quick hits. Staying with the NFL, looking at some playoff games, we'll talk about the Rams-Cowboys from yesterday. Rams getting a pretty easy win here. Cowboys kind of came back mid-interesting at the end, but what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that the Rams ran the ball a lot given Jared Goff's struggles recently, but I did not expect CJ Anderson to have 2 touchdowns and 120 yards.
I mean, I know the resurrection, man. Like he came out and I saw like a little graphic, cut by the Broncos after, winning a Super Bowl with them, then get signed by the Panthers, cut by the Panthers, signed with the Raiders, doesn't even take a snap with the Raiders, he's cut by them. Hangs on with the Rams, and then the last 4 games of the season been crazy for him. So maybe one of the most underrated pickups of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Skip Bayless actually tweeted something helpful because he's a big Cowboys fan, so I had to follow him during that. But he was saying the Cowboys gave up 170 rush yards in the first half, and LA had the ball 20 minutes. Like, that's controlling the game very old school.
Yeah, I think the Rams, what makes them so dynamic is just their ability to adjust to every situation. But we'll keep it rolling just like Kansas City did to the Colts. First home playoff victory for Kansas City in 25 years, but even better than that, you obviously saw this story beforehand. I just saw it on Twitter. They actually, one of the reporters tracked the guy down out there. A homeless man. It's snowing out in KC, and Jeff Allen, Chiefs player, had a little trouble getting to the game, got his car stuck in the snow, and a homeless man who lives out of his car actually helps him out of the snow to make it to the playoff game. Jeff Allen is gifting him tickets for getting the car unstuck. I might give him a little bit more.
I know. I was like, maybe like a job or a recommendation, a good reference.
Just, first month's rent for an apartment. Yeah. I don't know. You're in the NFL, bud.
Yeah, but yeah, obviously a great story. Jeff Allen might not have been there if it weren't for this guy. So
hey, and maybe that would make the difference.
Yeah, and this was an interesting game. I heard a lot of talk going into it that Luck's O-line was really good. He has all day to throw. That at the very least they were gonna put up a lot of points and stay in the game.
Yeah,
that didn't happen. He had an awful game, actually.
Yeah, he did, because everyone way overreacted after last week, saying, "Oh, Indianapolis might be the best team in the AFC now." They might be like the 4th, maybe 5th best team now after that performance. But yeah, can't take away with what Andrew Luck has done this year.
Yeah, I mean he had a great year. He's probably in the top 2 for comeback player of the year. Almost like close to 5,000 yards passing, almost 40 touchdowns. So great year for him. Unfortunately, he was sacked 3 times, fumbled, only 200 yards. So not really the way you want to go out. But the Colts are not that good of a team. I think you're right. People overreacted.
And I think they're really building something there with Luck. And, for a while, it looked like that franchise was heading in the wrong direction. But maybe, this is a stepping stone to getting back to kind of that trajectory before Luck got hurt.
Yep.
Also want to make a quick point about your boy, Adam Vinatieri.
Oh, please do.
That field goal, man.
Yeah, I was reading on Twitter earlier that he was 97 for 97 from 23 yards going into that game, and then, what do you know, missed the field goal.
Yeah, what do you know?
And now
I was actually thinking, maybe, Gostowski, he's going to be a free agent after this year. Maybe I'll bring Vinatieri back, but yeah, not after that.
Yeah, he might retire now. I think he was so shook by missing that. He was like, I can't do this anymore.
He got like the Mike Vanderjagt reaction, like when Vanderjagt missed that field goal in the playoffs. He was like, yeah, I'm done. Yeah. I'm out of here. All right. Your New England Patriots unfortunately, they look like the freaking Patriots.
Yeah.
Like, I am just so freaking disappointed.
Yeah, there was a Ringer article that went up today after the game, and they said that the Patriots' win was both surprising and inevitable. And I think that's
Yeah.
actually a really good way to sum it up. Somehow it's like every year, even I as a fan trick myself into being like, they're not gonna do it this year, and then they do it. I'm like, oh yeah, of course they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that's what I said earlier on in the year when like when the Jaguars beat the Patriots early in the year, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Patriots, they're done. Tom Brady's too old." Blah blah blah. And I'm just like, we can be happy about it right now, but like they're still going to be the Patriots by the end of the season, and we'll see what happens. Against the Chiefs next week. We'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, this Patriots team looks like the Patriots that we're used to.
Yeah, we scored 41 points, which is exactly how old Tom Brady was, so that might have been on purpose.
How about that?
Do you know he's 41? I didn't know, but...
I think I heard it once or twice before. And finally, the game that just finished up right before we started this, Saints comeback victory over the Eagles. The magic of Nick Foles has come to an end. I thought he was going to pull it off again, and we're on our way to an Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl again.
Yeah, honestly, even when the Saints fell behind, I was pretty confident they were going to come back. And you want to know why I was confident they were going to come back?
Why?
Because Sean Payton pulled a Doc Rivers, and he gave an epic motivational speech to them this year. He brought in a Lombardi trophy from when they won many years ago, brought in $200,000 in cold hard cash, and dumped it on the table in front of everyone. He was like, if you make it to the Super Bowl, this is what you get, because they all get a $200,000 bonus. So
yeah, well,
they were motivated.
This would have been a huge, major disappointment for the Saints if they had lost this game, especially to an Eagles team who, found a way to win in the wild card round. But gosh darn, like that would have been pretty ridiculous if the Saints had found a way to lose this.
Yeah, you're right. And then, was there one more game? Did we get through all the games?
That's it. All right, that was it.
Wow.
So we can begin to break down this next round of playoffs. And so the first game we have the New England Patriots leaving the friendly confines of Gillette Stadium and going on the road to Kansas City. So weather should be about the same. Cold, snowy. That's just my guess.
Just the way the Patriots like it.
You've got Pat Mahomes. What's up, Mahomes? And Tom Brady, who is 41 years old, if you hadn't heard before.
Wow, I didn't know that. Tell me again.
Chiefs are favored in the Vegas odds. And so first of all, we'll get key to the game.
All right, my personal key to the game: special teams. Nobody wants to talk about
like
special
a true
teams.
Patriots fan.
Special teams is huge. Everyone knows Belichick loves the 3 phases of the game, but also the Colts actually took advantage on special teams a little bit. They had a blocked punt for a touchdown against the Chiefs, so I think that's an area to watch pretty closely, especially in a high-scoring game where special teams could really swing the game just enough for one team.
I'm going to go with this Kansas City secondary versus Tom Brady because we know Mahomes, what he can do, and it's going to be a real chess match between Andy Reid and Bill Belichick, as we've seen Andy Reid, not always great in these matchups, but we'll see if what they do on that side of the ball. But this secondary's got to stay strong because Tom Brady in the playoffs is just ridiculous, and that's got to be the key. If they can hold down those receivers, there's going to be a lot of crossing routes, a lot of plays to Julian Edelman. So if they can keep that down, I think they got a good chance to win this game. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic going into it for my Patriots.
All right, so what is your prediction?
I'm gonna say Chiefs 30. 35, 32.
35-32. Okay. I'm going to go Patriots because I see what you're doing here with picking the Chiefs. You're trying to make it so, oh, wow, the Patriots won. But no, I'm going to pick the Patriots here so it gets the reverse. So maybe we'll just cancel all that out. So I'll go Patriots. I am thinking I like the 35. I might go 38-35 Patriots.
All right. I like it. All right.
Rams.
Our next game up. Rams and the Saints. Yet another rematch, and yet again the top seeds advancing. Number 1, number 2.
Yeah, and Marcus Peters, he called it way back then. He is ready for that rematch with Sean Payton.
He wants some gumbo.
Oh yeah. This is gonna be good because it's back in New Orleans. I'm really hoping for a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl because that game was just amazing the last time we saw it. But
yep.
I'd be okay with any matchup as long as it's the Rams or the Saints versus the Chiefs. But I think, kind of my key for this game is, can New Orleans slow down the Los Angeles running game? Because clearly we just saw Dallas wasn't able to. And this New Orleans defense, we talked about how improved they are this year. But with Todd Gurley, CJ Anderson, can they slow them down? If they can, then maybe they can control the clock. They can get the ball more. They can get the ball to the weapons and everything. I think that's going to be the key this time around.
Yeah, personally, I think Jared Goff is going to be the key. He really struggled to close out the season. And not only that, but I think it's become pretty clear that he really relies on McVay. McVay is talking to him, all the way up until they shut the communication off. He's diagnosing the defense for him.
The only thing McVay is not doing is throwing the football.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if these defenses are able to confuse Goff a little bit and be a little bit more complex and not as easy to diagnose right at the line of scrimmage, that could be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, prediction time. Another high scorer here. I would go Rams 42, Saints 38.
I think Saints 24, Rams 21.
All right. I got both the road teams winning. Really crossed my finger that only one of them wins. No secret which one that is, but that's the NFL. We will be back with the NBA. You got James Harden, Boogie's return, and Jimmy Butler making trouble in the locker room. What? All right, that's coming up next. Welcome back to The Flap. We are now getting into the NBA storylines. There's been a lot going on since the last time we talked, but we figure we hit on the major points, and we'll start with the man that is destroying all of basketball right now, James Harden. And the Rockets were 14th in the West at the start of last month, and we talked about how bad the Rockets were the past couple times we talked. But now they've won 13 of the last 16. I will remind you that one of those losses was to the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But Harden's on a roll like none other right now, and is really stamping his mark on the MVP race yet again.
Yeah, and it is one of those, Chris Paul goes down, Harden's like, I'm going to step up, and step up he has. He scored 30 or more points in 15 straight games, and he's carried. I mean, they have some good players, but he is by far, the creator and scorer all by himself.
I mean, I was shocked. I thought Clint Capella was going to be like the man after Chris Paul went down.
He can dunk. He can get an alley-oop any day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but this has been crazy. I mean, the amount of 40-point games he's putting up right now, and then let's go back to that Warriors game when he just took that three. Oh my gosh, just destroyed the Warriors by himself, single-handedly. So I mean, if Harden's doing this kind of stuff, and we'll see when Chris Paul comes back if they're able to work something out where Harden can continue on this kind of role. But I mean, they might be the second best team again.
Yeah, I feel like one of the craziest things when you're watching a really, really good player, especially at the end of a close game, is exactly what move they're going to do, and they
Yep.
do it and score anyway. And watching him do that to the Warriors with like 4 straight step back threes was just unreal.
The best is, after Harden did that to the Warriors, Steph Curry tried to do that same James Harden step back three and got called for a travel.
James Harden,
And
he is not.
not to be replicated for sure. Speaking of the Golden State Warriors, they are about to get some big help. And I don't know if it's going to be like big help in terms of stats and everything, but it's a big guy and he might help. Boogie Cousins making his NBA Warriors debut January 18th, coming back from injury. It's going to be later this week. And Steve Kerr has already said that, he expects DeMarcus to start as soon as he's back.
Yep, he's a large man, but obviously they're gonna have to find a balance. Just like anytime you incorporate a very talented player into a team with a lot of already talented players, but they do seem like they need a boost of some kind. It's a little hard to tell exactly what's keeping them from really playing great this year, but maybe just having him there to like motivate them as someone who's never been on a very good team before will help.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be motivated as soon as he gets back. I mean, he wants to make a point to other NBA teams that he's still healthy, or he is now healthy, and he can still be the same kind of player. I don't know how the Warriors are going to use him, and I think that's going to be the most interesting thing to look at down the stretch of the season. And it's kind of funny because the Warriors have been off all season, and they're finally starting to get kind of that Warriors vibe back to them, but it's starting to play better. Draymond Green has still been a liability for them as far as an offensive player, but maybe this helps. Maybe having Boogie Cousins as a fourth option now helps the team, and Draymond can not worry less about playing on offense.
Yeah, and maybe he'll end up being a 6-man for them. That could be interesting.
I mean, right now Steve Kerr says he's going to start. So
they might end up pulling a Gordon Hayward. He starts, plays bad, and then they put him to the bench.
We'll see. I mean, I that's what I expected, is him to come off the bench, but Kerr's been pretty adamant. So we will see. Someone that is unhappy with his role, whether he's starting, whether he's got the ball in his hands, whatever it is, it's Jimmy Butler, Mr. Frowny Face, no matter where he is. Just can't understand this guy. But I might actually understand him in this situation because he's upset with his role. Had a pretty controversial give and go in the film room with Coach Brett Brown for the 76ers. Kind of unhappy about how he's being used in the offense. I kind of see it, Danny, but I want to get your take on this.
All right, here's the thing. Jimmy Butler comes across like he's Kobe Bryant or Kevin Garnett.
He is.
He's never been to the finals, but he has this bravado, like, I can tell the coach how we should play. Like, maybe he should just take a back seat and, like, chill for 1 year.
Yeah, sure, but that's not going to happen. Yeah, that's not Jimmy Butler.
What's your case for him being misused on Philadelphia?
So this is my thing, and I work with a couple of Philadelphia 76er fans, so I talk to them about this. But my thing is, you look at Brett Brown, and he just doesn't use the pick and roll. I mean, that's fine. If that's kind of your thing, that's fine. But when you have two of the best pick and roll ball handlers in the NBA with Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler, you've got to do it. And not to mention, you also have maybe two of the best role guys, and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Like, think of all the creativeness you could do with that pick and roll. And I know that's an obsession with a lot of NBA, analysts and writers and stuff is, pick and roll and this and this and that. But the pick and roll is one of the best plays in the NBA. It's literally what defenses are built on, is to stop a pick and roll. And guys fall in the draft if they don't think they'll be able to cover the pick and roll. So I think, he's got to figure out a better way, because I also don't think Ben Simmons is being used well. I don't think Joel Embiid is being used well. So no one's being used well, except maybe JJ Redick, who just stands on the perimeter no matter what. I think he's got a lot to do to get this team to work. And I would say, I mean, I don't want to cut it short because I've loved Brett Brown ever since he got hired there in Philadelphia. But if he can't get this thing worked out, he might start to be on the hot seat after the season's over.
Wow, so you think it's a Brett Brown problem?
Yeah, I think it is a Brett Brown problem. I think he's got to figure out a way for this to work because they don't have any other options. Like, what else can they do to get another piece? Like, you might be able to get, some decent role player by trading Markelle Fultz or Zaire Smith, who's been out injured this year, but you got to figure out something. I never thought they should have made the Jimmy Butler trade, but, they went ahead and did it.
Yeah, now that they did it, I mean, Brett Brown's in a no-win situation because they want Jimmy Butler to work long-term. They want him to re-sign. So Brett Brown, has to make this work or they're going to find someone who can.
Yeah, and I've heard people, talk in some different forums about maybe you sign Jimmy Butler in the offseason and look for a trade return for Ben Simmons.
What?
It's pretty unheard of because, I mean, Ben Simmons is a fantastic young player. He's a future all-star. But if those players aren't going to work together and you want to build a championship team, you got to figure something else out.
What type of trade would you look for? Like, are you Anthony Davis, or are you more 3 or 4 really good role players?
I don't think Anthony Davis would be the right fit. I know that was just an example, but
yeah.
I mean, I could see, maybe you try to go get a Damian Lillard. Maybe you try to go get, some role players. I think you go either way.
A Bradley Beal.
A Bradley Beal, sure. The Bradley Beal would be great if you could get someone like that. And look, Simmons is going to get you that type of return because a team built around Simmons is still going to be a really good team. It's just a team with Simmons, Embiid, and Butler. I don't know if that works long term. Plus, Butler's on a completely different trajectory as far as the age he's at right now. I mean, he's approaching 30. He's a little bit more up there. He's 29 right now, so next September he will be 30. So, this whole young roster thing with Simmons and Embiid might not work with him. So, I guess we'll just have to see kind of how they figure out this roster with Brett Brown. They'll definitely get him to the end of the season. They'll probably make some moves before then, but after the season, they got a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah, very interesting. Another team that's pretty interesting right now is the Lakers.
Who?
The Lakers?
Who?
The LeBron James, who I still think is a robot, who's never been injured before, is at least supposedly injured right now. He hasn't played in a couple days. But,
yeah.
I mean, first of all, the rumor is that his injury might be a little more serious that he's letting on. I've read that he could be out another month and a half, which is that'd be a big hit to this Lakers team. They've 4-6 in their last 10 games, not playing very well without him. Do you think this team has what it takes if he's gone for a while?
It'll be tough because they've managed to get some wins out of this. You say they're 4-6 in the last 10. They finished out that win over the Warriors. I mean, obviously they had a big lead already, but it's still a big thing to finish off the Warriors. Kyle Kuzma's had some big games for them. But remember, they've been hurt through this. Kuzma's missed some games. Brandon Ingram, Rondo's still out for them right now. He actually hasn't been playing, which I think has been hurting them just as much because Rondo was the real star in that Warriors win on Christmas Day. So I think, they can hold their head above water until, maybe the end of February, stick around that playoff race in the West. But if it's the rest of the season, I mean, they're gonna fall off pretty quickly after that.
What if LeBron's sitting there watching this team play and be like, I'm supposed to beat the Warriors with this team?
I don't think anyone ever expected him to beat the Warriors with that team.
Yeah, but he's a competitive
let's be
guy. Real.
Sure. But I think everyone keeps saying LeBron knew what he was getting himself into when he got to LA. He knew this was not going to be a right away thing. But I think this opportunity right now is going to be good because it's allowed Kuzma to kind of develop into hopefully like that second go-to guy for the Lakers. It's helped Lonzo Ball, who's played pretty well throughout it as far as a creator and defensively. Brandon Ingram has not played as well, but maybe he can start to get some good run out there and bump up his trade value so he becomes a piece for a guy like Anthony Davis in the offseason. But I think you got to look at the positives right now for the Lakers, just trying to keep your head above water at the moment. With LeBron back, they're easily a top 4 team in the West.
Yeah, no, I agree. But, I mean, Cleveland was a top 4 team in the league with LeBron last year, and that's not saying much.
Well, no, it's not saying a whole lot. But, I mean, outside of the top team in the league, I mean, what are you really saying?
No, I get it. I just think, the long-term goal for LeBron with the Lakers is to win a championship. And I do think there's an element of if he looks at this team and is like, even if these guys develop like I thought they would, like I guess if they're not going to develop to the point that he thinks they need to be a championship team, I wouldn't be surprised to see some guys cut loose.
Yep, I can see it. All right, now time for our NBA question of the week. You are told one NBA player is an alien, extraterrestrial. What 3 guys do you think it would be? I think we can go ahead and say like the number 1 guy, Danny.
Oh, yeah. Dennis Rodman.
Hands down, number 1. I mean, first of all, you got the Men in Black movie that's pretty much comes out and says he's an alien. So if that's not proof enough, I mean, what else is?
Very true.
Yeah.
And second of all, you have everything else.
Yeah, pretty much everything else after that. So you number 1, Men in Black. Number 2, he's Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Right. Who else do you have?
Next for me is Wilt Chamberlain. It's like, really? A, you look at the little footage that does exist, that guy wasn't real. And B, if you read his biography and see some of the stuff he claims, definitely an alien.
Definitely. All right, I agree.
Yeah.
Mine is Sam Cassell. And I think this one's pretty clear. I mean, it's almost like he's wearing like a bad human costume. Like, it's like, his head just wouldn't fit in the human costume, and it kind of makes him look out of place, Like in Men in Black, sometimes they're wearing those costumes, and it's like, I don't know if that works.
Oh, wow, yeah, he really does look like one of the Indiana Jones aliens.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Sam Cassell, yeah, for sure.
Wow.
And your third?
Third for me is none other than Meta World Peace, because he changed his name to Meta World Peace.
Because that was after his race signed the peace treaty with Earth.
Well, he sounds like an alien that felt like people were catching on to him, and he was like, I gotta do something to let them know I fit in. So he changed his name to Meta World Peace.
Interesting conspiracy theory here. Do you think Ron Artest was replaced by an alien who then changed his name to Meta World Peace?
Oh, I like that. I can get on board with that.
All right. I think that's what happened. Another conspiracy theory here. My third guy is Markelle Fultz, because how else could you explain how his jumper just completely vanished on him?
That's true. Another replacement.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Markelle Fultz in college was like, it actually, now that I really think about this, it might be a Space Jam scenario where like his abilities were sucked out of him, using that basketball by the aliens. So he might not be an alien himself, but the aliens took his abilities.
Yep, that's a good call.
All right. Well, we will be back in just a moment to finish things up. We'll have our Elon update and look at some Instagram stories. So we'll be right back.
Thank you guys for waiting through yet another Brita-sponsored commercial break. Good.
Brita.
All right, so we already did our Tim Tebow update for the day at the top of the show. So next up, we have our Elon update. Elon men's basketball lost yet again, this time to Hofstra Pride. I don't even know where
Brutal.
Hofstra is.
Brutal. It's in New York, I believe.
But let's give a shout out to someone on Elon. Nathan Pretty went 0 for 6.
Not great.
Yeah.
Hofstra is in Long Island.
Oh, wow. Who would have thought?
They have a Starbucks there.
Moving on to the Docs Books articles. Rex of the week. What do we got going on? Mine is the Bill Simmons trade value column. You followed Bill Simmons. This is a staple. He used to put it out every year for like 20 years, and then he got lazy and hasn't done one in a while. But they're finally back. It's pretty cool. I think it's every writer on the Ringer is contributing, but definitely worth a look.
Yeah, Ringer putting out good stuff as usual. I do have another podcast I've been listening to. If you're into kind of some of the, I guess, murder mystery, you can put it. One that I like a lot right now is Monster, the Zodiac Killer, which has been really cool because, you know, I obviously was not alive for that. So kind of hearing some of it. Mind you, if you're driving in the dark in a rural area, maybe don't listen to it like I did this week, because I constantly had to look over my shoulder every couple seconds because it freaked me out so much. But definitely a good listen, and they've got some cool interviews and kind of tell a cool story there. So
is that the one about Ted Cruz?
No.
Okay.
No. All right, time for the Instagram update. Antonio Brown, more news from him. The NFL Instagram page put out a picture of Antonio Brown in a 49ers jersey. It looks like the NFL might want Brown to go to the 49ers. I said it earlier, it's a good fit, but they actually took it down. It was actually because Jerry Rice, one of the analysts for the NFL Network, was talking about possibly Antonio Brown going to the 49ers, but they decided to take that down. Interesting.
I saw you posted something here about Von Miller's mom. What is she going on?
Mama don't back down, all right? Mama said knock you out. I think that's like the third time I've said that line on this show. So here it is. So basically, John Elway, the general manager, president, something like that for the
guy.
Broncos. Yeah, the guy, general manager. All right, we'll go general manager. For the Broncos, said that he's not impressed with Von Miller, and they are going to look at all possibilities with him, which means they could trade him. So Von Miller's mom, Gloria, said this on Instagram. Not because he's my son, but he's the main reason Denver won the Super Bowl. Von's not the problem. The problem is Elway. Every quarterback he's brought in was a fluke. He wants to half pay the vets, but wants them to perform at a high caliber. He has no clue on drafting at any position. He needs to work on an offensive line and quarterback. Trading Von isn't the answer, but best of luck with that. Elway has wasted more money on quarterbacks than any team in the NFL. I get it's easier to blame Von, but it's not up to him. Hashtag what up Dallas. Hashtag send Jerry Joby's number.
Wow, that's a fire post.
Oh, it was straight fire. It's straight fire. I think it was taken down, but luckily someone screenshotted that bad boy. Whew, I'm feeling the heat from here.
It's crazy. I feel like John Elway started off with so much love his first 3 years, and it's deteriorated so fast.
Well, I mean, he started off and basically got Peyton Manning right away.
Yeah.
And, rode that to a Super Bowl, and everyone's like, all right, I guess that was good. And now we're like, oh, gosh, he's not good. He's really not good. Final Instagram update I got here is Anthony Davis had a particular like on Instagram, Danny. And this might, be something that you take interest in because he liked a post on Instagram that said, here it is, to say, at Lakers, he happy here. He ain't going to your bum-ass city. Anthony Davis liked that.
That's hilarious. I feel like these NBA stars are kind of just toying with people now. They're just going
Oh,
on and
for
liking
sure.
stuff.
It's like all right, who mentioned me today? Oh, this? Oh, let's like that. Let's start a media firestorm here.
Very good. All
Gotta
right,
love
I
it.
guess we're on to our 60-second sign off.
Yep. Some people do 60 minutes. We do 60 seconds.
Well said. I think we should do it with our alien picks. All the people we
Oh,
listed
I
in our
like
aliens.
that. All right.
And
I'll start it off.
I'm starting. You go ahead.
All right. Markel Fultz showed up for a regular day at the arena in Philadelphia. Showed up with his basketball bag and was ready to play.
Sam Castle walks up to Markel Fultz and says, "You're one of us too," and then rips his human mask off to reveal a lizard man underneath.
Then grabs Markel Fultz, drains the energy out of him, and gives it to Ron Artest, who becomes Meta World Peace.
Meta World Peace immediately beams down Wilt Chamberlain onto the court from the mothership to join their new basketball team for Allen Iverson's 3-on-3 league.
And Dennis Rodman was their coach. Amen.
Amen. Oh, that was good.
We fit them all in there, guys, so don't ever say we didn't give you anything, because we just gave you 60 seconds of glory.
All right, guys, signing off. This is Daniel.
And this is Preston. We'll see you next week.